Hey, love. So, welcome to Selah Saturday. This is the sacred space in between what was and what will be. And so, we have walked through most of the journey of Holy Week together. And today is where we get to pause, where we get to take a breath and just locate ourselves in the story of Holy Week. As we walked through Good Friday yesterday, we saw that the sky went dark, the earth shook, and from the cross, Jesus declared that it is finished. And so to heaven, this sounded like a shot of victory because the debt was paid, the veil was torn. But to the disciples, it felt more like this finality of an ending. And what I believe Jesus meant, or I know Jesus meant as salvation when he said it is finished, the disciples were actively experiencing loss. And so I can only imagine that what was finished in the spiritual realm to them felt like complete devastation. And that is that sacred space of the in between where heaven is rejoicing and here on earth we're trying to navigate what just happened. Where am I? What's going on? Have you ever been in that place before? And so the cross is now behind us. The resurrection stands in front of us, it stands before us. But we are here. We're in this space in the in between. And if I'm being honest, this space of the in between doesn't always feel good. It feels messy because you have what you once knew before you and or rather behind you, and you have the promises of what will be that you have not yet seen. And so you're standing in this moment and in this tension and in this middle ground. So what do you do? So let's talk about Selah for a second, because in Psalms, we often see this word Selah show up, and it's a musical notation that means stop, breathe, consider. It's like a musical interlude in between two sets. It's this moment of truth that is spoken but before the response is ever given. It's not this empty void, but it's a invitation into a sacred pause. And that's how I want us to see the beauty of today. And so in Psalms 46 and 10, we all know this verse or have heard it in some way before, but it says, be still and know. And so we can't truly know how sovereign God is until we're willing to be still in his silence. See, Saturday is a living Selah moment for us. It's the posture of surrender. It's the choice to trust God even when the miracle shows up and looks like a tomb. And so, again, Saturday is what I like to call the messy middle. It's this agonizing tension that stands in between the promise and the fulfillment. And so you are no longer where you were, but you still are not yet where you know that you are going. See, in Luke 23, we see a powerful picture of quiet faithfulness. The women, they saw where he was laid, they prepared spices for his body, and then they did something amazing. They rested. They didn't have the same New Testament revelation that we have today on what happens, right? Or what would happen. They didn't know that the stone was going to be rolled away in 24 hours. For them, Saturday was a wall, and yet they still honored the sacred rhythm of heaven. They rested not because they were happy, they just, in their understanding, just lost their everything. What they expected to take place on Good Friday looked like the complete opposite of what they thought would happen through the Messiah. but yet they were still obedient. And so it made me question, why does God give us these sacred pauses? Why does He introduce us to these Selah moments? Why didn't He just rise on Friday night? And what I realized is that healthy transition requires honest release. See, we can't move into the new while we're still carrying these unprocessed weights of the old, of what was. And so the pause gives us room for two distinct holy actions to take place. Grief, which is the internal, this is a place that is heavy. It's the place where our souls are privately aching. It's the place where we most often question God and say, Lord, what now? And it's also a space for mourning because grief and mourning are not one and the same. While grief is the internal, mourning is the external. This is our outward expression. This is the tears. This is the lament. This is where the spices get prepared by the women. And this is key because if we don't allow the Selah to facilitate both spaces for us, then we don't actually heal. We just carry on. This is the moments where we say, it just is what it is. And when we do that, we bring the weight of regret, the things that we were holding on to in terms of our expectations from the last season, we bring them into the next season. See, regret has this interesting way of whispering, man, I really should have done more. But Selah whispers to us, it is finished, and I am safe to feel this loss. So if you don't grieve Friday's ending, you'll end up being way too heavy to run towards Sunday's new beginnings. And so rest is almost like an act of war. In this silent moment, rest is our highest form of worship. Psalm 62 and 1 says, my soul finds rest in God and in God alone. And so when you choose to be still today, what you're declaring to your anxiety, to your worries, to your troubles, to your fears, to your hurt, to your disappointment, to all of those things, you're declaring that I don't have to see the movement in order to believe in the move of God, the one who's responsible for the move. See, the Selah is almost like a detox. It's where the clearing of the emotional clutter and the emotional baggage happens. So that way, when God says go, when He says it's time, you can actually go. You can move with light feet. You can move with a clear conscience, with a clear spirit. And so I want you to take a moment to locate your heart. Where in life does it feel like Saturday? This Selah moment where you're like, Lord, what is happening here? I know what you said, but I also know what I see. And the two just don't seem to be matching up. What is happening? Where has the finished, what God has spoken and said and declared that it is finished, where has that felt more like a loss? And consider, can you offer God your stillness as a sacrifice today? The silence of God is not the absence of God. And I think oftentimes we get that confused. As the disciples, as they sat in grief, they saw a stone, but God saw a doorway. What they saw as defeat, God was disarming the grave. And so that same miraculous, supernatural power that would shatter the darkness was already moving in the silence of today, in the silence of the Saturday. See, God is never, ever absent in the pause. In the pause is where He's preparing In the pause is where he's forming, he's breathing life into the finished places. And so today, in the Selah, I don't want you to rush the clock. I don't want you to skip the heaviness of the moment. Don't rush past the grief, but instead trust the rhythm of the rest because Sunday is coming.